Okay, about ready.
Yep. Ready whenever you are.
All right. Call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. This is the Porter County Board of Commissioners meeting. It's September 29th, 2020. Move right into consent agenda.
Approval of payroll, September 4th and 18th, 2020. Approval of claims, September 3rd, 10th, 17th, 2020. Approval of minutes, September 1st, 2020. Treasurer's monthly report filed, August 31st, 2020.
Okay, Memorial Opera House, we have a venue rental agreement for Molly Vass/Victor Oros. And then that should be the consent agenda. I'll throw it to the floor for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second for our consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. We're going to move right into Commissioner's business here. We have a 2021 holiday schedule. Throw it up to the floor for approval.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second for the 2021 county employee holiday schedule. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Next up, we have a proposed ordinance to establish a fund for the Office of Energy Environmental Development Grant. This is second reading. At our last meeting, we did a public hearing, and this is second reading, so I'll throw it to the floor for action.
Motion to approve on second reading.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Next up, this is the Indiana Department of Transportation Highway Utility Agreement. This is a reimbursement for the relocation of a county fiber optic line located at State Road 2 and Heveland Road in the amount of $42,302.96. That's out where the new roundabout is going on Highway 2 and Heveland Road.
Motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Okay, now we have a first reading here. This is an ordinance establishing a local home rule fund for the receipt of certain pass-through forfeiture funds. Scott, can you give us a little bit of a...
Yeah, this has been the auditor and I believe the prosecutor have been working on the exact way to handle the funds from forfeitures that are dealing with drug cases, basically. And I believe this is, at the end of the day, what the State Board of Accounts and everybody, was it the State Board, the DLGF, wanted the fund to go this way? Who was it?
I wanted it this way.
Okay.
This was the only way that we could come up with for a solution to the problem of collecting forfeiture monies from agencies that are not part of the Sheriff's Drug Task Force. The monies that are collected through the Drug Task Force funnel through their fund, but we didn't have a place to put the monies for, let's say, the Indiana State Police. And so then our office is going to use this fund to pay out the attorney fees as well as the non-drug task force agencies. We think this will finally, as County Attorney said, this will be the last procedural move we need to do to get this program up and running.
Okay. This is first reading. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to suspend the Commissioners' meeting, open up a public hearing, and we're going to give 3 opportunities for anybody to come forward to speak in favor and 3 opportunities anybody to speak against this ordinance. So first call, anybody wishing to come forward and speak against this ordinance. Second call, anybody wishing to come forward and speak against this ordinance. Third and final call, anybody wishing to come forward to speak against this ordinance. First call, anybody wishing to come forward and speak in favor of this ordinance. Second call, anybody wishing to come forward to speak in favor of this ordinance. Third and final call, anybody wishing to come forward and speak in favor of this ordinance. And with that, the public hearing is now closed. And we resume the commissioners' meetings, and I'll throw it to the floor for action.
Motion to approve on first reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those on first reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose same sign. Motion carries. Next up, we have a request for modification to a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Environmental Infrastructure Program Authority. Scott, can you give us a little update on that?
Yeah, this request is to basically modify the existing program authority and to increase request the increase of the federal monies available from $100 million to $125 million for the region that we are in.
Okay. Any questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for a request for modification to a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Environmental Infrastructure Program Authority. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose same sign. Motion carries. Next up, Valpo Lakes Area Conservancy District, Okra Grant Administration Services, and this is the selection of a certified grant administrator. So we'll have Attorney Hollenbeck, who represents the VLACD, to come forward and give us the update here.
As you know, you were gracious enough to agree to be the applicant of this Oprah grant process on behalf of the Conservancy District. They're seeking money to do stormwater management upgrades in the Black Hawk Beach area on Flint Lake. The process has gotten to the point now where it's time to employ a grant administrator that we pay for out if we get the grant out of the grant. We have followed, with the help of Scott and Mike Novotny, all the requirements of the federal government, and there are many. And we have solicited proposals. We received a proposal. Mike Novotny and my client interviewed the person. She's the retired city planner in LaPorte. Mary Jane Thomas is her name. Everyone was very impressed, and I believe I can speak for Mike, if he isn't here, that he is supportive of our recommendation. There's Mike. I think we can say he is supportive of our recommendation that you agree to have her as our grant administrator. As soon as that happens, we'll prepare an agreement to that effect. We also need to get an agreement in place between the commissioners and the Conservancy District to make it perfectly clear that you are not responsible for any costs or expenses on this. And then she can go to work. Our application needs to be completed. We have submitted under the federal program what's called a grant proposal. We have now at the point where she will prepare the application, and we should know probably in late November or December. We're looking for, with your help, for $600,000, which will go a long way in helping us deal with the stormwater issues in the area. So what we're looking for today is your acquiescence and acceptance of our recommendation that we hire Ms. Thomas as the grant administrator. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from the board?
No, so moved, Mr. Chairman.
What's that, Jim?
Motion to approve.
Oh,
Second.
we have a motion and a second for the approval of Mary Jane Thomas to be the selected certified grant administrator for the VLACD grant administration program that they're attempting to procure Okra funds to do some significant storm work out in the VLACD area, which is much needed.
Yes, much needed.
With that, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Let us know, Dave.
Thank you very much.
We'll keep it going.
We'll keep in touch.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Pulse Technology. This is a revised proposal for office furniture at 157 Franklin Street, our new building. Scott, why is this revised? I think we
It was originally approved up to $150,000 of furniture, and so this is the exact amount of that we're paying, so that's why it's back on.
A little bit less?
Yep.
Okay, so this is just housekeeping here. Okay, I'll throw that to the floor.
Looking for the number here.
148, 560, 128.
So moved to
Second.
approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second for Pulse Technology. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose same sign, motion carries. We have a resolution here allowing the Porter County Board of Commissioners to submit a regional application for the Environmental Resilience Institute 2021 intern cohort on behalf of multiple northwestern Indiana jurisdictions.
That's a mouthful, so it's entitled Resolution Supporting the Funding by NERC of the Indiana University's Regional Greenhouse Inventory Cohort. So it's part of a program that's going on that's happening for the greenhouse gas inventory through the Indiana University's regional study that NERC is requesting.
This is other local units of government in other counties, such as Lake County, have approved this as well,
And
Correct.
LaPorte County.
and LaPorte. Okay. Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for a resolution for the Porter County Board of Commissioners to submit a regional application for the Environmental Resilience Institute. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Pose same sign, motion carries. Next up, this is Schmidt and Associates. I guess this is for a brick masonry repair project for the Memorial Opera House. I don't know if many of you recall, but several years ago, through the efforts of our foundation and Scott McDonald, who's the Memorial Opera House director, we secured a grant to study the Memorial Opera House. It is one of our oldest buildings that the county has been in the county, and has a large historical significance to our county. And out of that study, we were given a laundry list of things that need to be done for our old treasure. And over the last year, we have been looking at different ways to figure out how we can sort of go about upgrading this treasure. There's a lot of things to look at in these old buildings. What we've decided to do as a board is to take baby steps. I think our first concern is obviously the condition of the exterior of the brick. It has been there for quite some time, and it's showing some areas it shows good, other areas it really shows bad. What this contract will allow us to do is to go in, we're going to hire a local mason, and we're going to be coming in and doing a lot of cores around the building to see if we can figure out what the real condition of this brick is before we start tearing into it. It's more for cost purposes, but it's also more for us to continue to write the storybook here on when we do finally move forward and start fixing this building. We have a much more targeted approach to the skin. All the other things that were on that list, from our perspective, we think are very doable, but in any building, it always starts with the foundation and the skin of the building. And being of the historical significance, that's the one that we wanted to tackle first, and I think it's the right approach. It's the one that's needing repair the most urgently, and so this is what we're going to do, and hopefully we can start doing some of these cores and samples, and we can do that yet this year. So that's what this contract is for. Did I miss anything, Laura, or
No, I think
Jim?
we
Or
covered it.
I think we covered
Good
it.
time to do this stuff when it's not real active over there due to
Yeah.
COVID, so.
Scott, did I cover everything? Okay, just want to make sure I didn't leave a stone in the yard there or something. I just want to make sure that I explained it correctly.
No pun intended.
Well, yeah. But that's a very concern, that's our biggest concern there, is the condition of the exterior brick. And it's been through a lot.
Water problems.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, I thought
Well needed.
you brought up a good point, Commissioner Good in that due to the age of the building itself, which is well over 100 years old, before we begin tearing into it, we need to know what type of material that brick is and whether or not it's going to hold up to us modifying it or renovating it or whatever.
So that is what is before us. Scott, what was the cost of the agreement? I had it in my mind, and was it around?
It's not to exceed 18.5 for Schmidt and Associates, but that's not just testing. That is whatever the testing reveals, doing the architectural work to be able to eventually put that out to bid if that's the direction we were going. So step one, determine what's wrong with it, if it can be tuck pointed or whatever the issue may be, replaced or re-veneered. Once we know that, then we have continue on with Schmidt and Associates on whatever the testing reveals that needs to be done architecturally so that we can start to get an idea of what the cost would be when it is that it's going to be fixed.
And that's very important. I mean, we typically, you see governments go out and just sign a big contract with someone, and then they work through it. What we're doing here is we're sort of taking tiny baby steps here, but if we know what that condition of that brick is, and we know what our issues are, when we go to negotiate that contract with the architect, it's much more defined in scope, so we should see a savings in the cost. And fewer change orders and all those other things to make the projects deliverable as to what we promise the public that we're going to do them for. So this is we're just sort of mining here and trying to get as finite as we can before we move forward on a larger scale. So, and that's typically how you handle these historical buildings.
I'd like to point out, too, that Schmidt and Associates specializes in historic buildings. This is where they're good.
Yep, and they're based out of Indianapolis. I know we've met with them several times. The report that we received several years ago, I thought was a very good report, and so we're going to continue to keep marching forward, and hopefully we'll be back here with some results of what comes out of this if we choose to move forward. So,
Motion to approve.
Second.
we have a motion and a second for Schmidt and Associates. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. And the next, we have a request to approve COVID reimbursement claims. Is that Scott or Vicki, or what are we doing?
Go ahead, Vicki.
Vicki,
Okay.
there you go.
Okay, this set of claims is the next bundle of claims that went through our local process. Many of these come from the tourism office, but there's also some additional claims that went through our new program through the Foundation Budget Fund.
And Vicki, the request that you have for the reimbursement, what's the total of this request?
$13,650 among the three different categories.
Okay, thank you.
But I do want to point out the big announcement that came through Indiana yesterday, and I'd like the Commissioner's support to sit down and talk about where we go from here, because we have some decisions to make.
I saw that.
Yes.
But it's good stuff.
It's very good, but there's some pending requests
Right.
that we need to address. You need to address. No, I'll just do the accounting paperwork.
Come on, Vicki.
Motion to approve the COVID reimbursement claims.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of COVID reimbursement claims. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Next, we're going to get into some pay applications for 157 Franklin. We have just an update on this building. We have moved in 4D. Child Support Division has moved into their permanent space. When you saw earlier, we approved the order for all of our furniture is in. We're expecting that over the next several, probably month. And then once we get that furniture in, we'll start the journey in moving the auditor, sorry, Vicki, didn't mean to scare you, moving the adult probation and prosecutor's office out of the courthouse. And then we're still working with Anthony. You'll be seeing some other approvals coming through here. Then the last department we'll be moving in is the 911 center. That's a little bit trickier to move because you got to have it live at both ends while you're operating it. So that will come at the end, and that will be interesting. We've never done that before up here, move a 911 department. So a
lot of preparation.
A lot of preparation going on there. So
we don't want any surprises that day.
Yep. So here are some pay applications. We're going to do all these in one. You can see them up above. These are just pay applications based on their contracts that they have with the county. We can do all these in one, so please make your motion all in one.
Motion to approve the 3 pay apps for 157 Franklin Street as they appear on the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Next up is North County Annex. We're very close to finishing up there. These, again, are all pay applications with contracts that we do have with people on the project. I would hope by the end of this year, both of these projects will be finalized and paid out, depending on how our punch list and things go from that perspective. But I think, Scott, does it look like these are all pay apps, so I think we can do them all in one, right?
We can.
Yep. So for the pleasure of the other commissioners, North County Annex pay apps can all be done in one.
Motion to approve pay apps 1 through 7 on the North County Annex as noted on the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for North County Annex pay apps. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Next up, we have, this is a request for sheriff rentals. I think we have someone from the sheriff's department here. Good morning.
Good morning. Kathy.
Oh, yeah.
Sheriff and Edie were in a meeting this morning, so.
Yeah, this is, we got to do another fund, huh?
Yep.
So this is an ordinance to receipt of funds from the State Homeland Security Grant in the amount of $214,375 to replace robotics platform for explosive incidents. And this is first reading. So we're basically creating a fund here, right? An ordinance fund to accept these dollars coming from the Homeland Security Grant from the state.
Correct.
Okay. So what we're going to do again here is we're going to pause our meeting, open up a public hearing. We're going to give 3 opportunities for, 3 opportunities against. We'll start with against. Anybody wishing to come forward to speak against this ordinance? First call. Second call. Anybody wishing to come forward and speak against this ordinance? Third and final call. Anybody wishing to come forward to speak against this ordinance? First call. Anybody wishing to come forward to speak in favor of this ordinance? Second call. Anybody wishing to come forward to speak in favor of this ordinance? Third and final call. Anybody wishing to come forward to speak in favor of this ordinance? And with that, the public hearing is closed. Open up the commissioners' meeting. Throw it to the floor for action.
Motion to approve the new fund on first reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on first reading for an ordinance to receive funds from the State Homeland Security Grant. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Tony Stua, our Director of 911.
Good morning.
Morning, Tony. How you doing?
Pretty good, yourself?
Good.
Dropping things.
So what do you got in front of us? I know what it is, but I'm going to let you explain it to us.
So the last component we have in order to move to the new center will be allowing all of our radio equipment to be installed at building for 157. So Minor is going to handle all the installation of the equipment on top of the building and run all the radio equipment into our center and into our server.
And we did get all those conduits from the roof and everything down through that space,
Yes.
correct? Because I remember I went out there
Will
and,
be taken care of by.
yeah, we got that all through where we needed to get through it, so it's all protected and encased and
Correct.
good. All right. Throw it to the floor for action, any.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and second for Minor Electronics Corp., local corporation that has handled a lot of our radio equipment out at 911 and for a lot of sheriffs and fire in our county. This is a quote to move VHF equipment to the new 911 office in the amount of $13,762.30. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
Lance Bella. Lance is our Director of Emergency Management for Porter County. Good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Seen you in a while.
Yes.
So first up, this is the Porter County Shoreline Disaster Emergency Declaration and Travel Restriction. As you recall, this disaster emergency declaration only lasts 30 days. That's a state statute and a federal statute. We're not making that up. So ever since we've reached the high water mark up at the lake, we have been coming in and declaring this emergency every 30 days to keep that alive. What that allows, why we do that, is that allows any political subdivisions or other cities and towns in that area, if they want to file for federal or state relief, this restriction needs to be in place for that to happen. So what we're doing is keeping the restriction alive so these cities and towns have the ability to go, if they need federal funds or they need any match money, this allows them to go after that. So we're just leaving the window open for them. That's really the only thing that we can do as a county at this point. So that's really what that's for. So we'll be voting on that for another 30 days. So I'll throw it to the floor.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second for the Shoreline Disaster Emergency Declaration and Travel Restrictions for the Porter County shoreline. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Next up, we have a Christopher B. Burke Engineering. This is a multi-hazard mitigation plan update, and Lance, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. This is required by the Department of Homeland Security. It has to be updated every 5 years, and it requires collaboration between all the municipalities and stakeholders within the county. And so we obtained a grant from Homeland Security to pay for this. Christopher Burke was the facilitator of this, and we had several meetings and all-day sessions where we assessed threats and different things that the county faces, and then how could we potentially mitigate that. So this is a plan that was created. It's about 120 pages, and this goes in place. We would pass this, and then each municipality would in turn have to adopt this as well. And this allows you to be eligible for Homeland Security grants. If you don't have this in place, you will not be eligible for certain grants.
Yep.
How was this study paid for?
It was a grant.
Grant.
It was at no cost to the county.
Right.
So,
I know you put a lot of time into this.
yeah, it was-
A lot to
Yeah.
organize all those
Yeah.
communities. I appreciate that. Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and second for a multi-hazard mitigation plan update for the Emergency Management Department. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Thanks,
you.
Lance.
Thank you.
Good seeing you. Next up, we have IT Director Eric Serrano. Good morning, Eric. How's things going?
Good.
You've been here now, what, 60 days?
Barely a month, but yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's going well.
Well, good. Good to see you. What do you got for us?
So, you guys mentioned earlier about the fiber relocation at State Road 2 in Haviland. So the first thing is approval for NITCO to begin that relocation. They'd like to do it this fall. That way, if the Indiana Department of Transportation wants to begin early in the spring, they're not held up because of our fiber.
Okay.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yep.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for NITCO. This is an agreement for the relocation of fiber optic connector at Haviland Road and State Road 2 pertaining to the roundabout. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Just so everybody knows, too, that new roundabout that's going in there, all the ground around that roundabout was county ground. And we've been working with the state for the last 2 years in giving right-of-ways and other things to them to be able to make that roundabout work out there. So we've been involved in it. That's why we're relocating utilities and other things at their cost. So what we did here is we got money from the state and now we're signing an agreement, and we're taking that money, and we're going out and doing the work. So that's what's going on here. I think I got it right, Eric.
Yep, and I think most of the work is going to be able to be done without closing Highway 2. They're moving the roundabout off of the highway to the north a little, so shouldn't be too bad for traveling.
Not like the last
Yeah,
Highway 2
yeah.
shutdown where,
Although that was worth it, that is so much safer of an intersection, but it was closed a long time, a little further south.
yep, we got a lot of complaints.
Yeah.
A lot of the detours that were going on,
Yeah.
and everybody driving a
Rough
little
on
too
county
fast.
roads, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so. Next up, Scott, can we do 2 and 3 together? I think we do that, yeah. So what we got is a copier agreement here and a maintenance agreement, 3-year maintenance agreement. And this is for a new copier for the Superior Court 2. So they're in need of a new copier and a maintenance agreement. So that's what this is for, the courts.
Motion to approve the copier purchase and the 3-year copier maintenance agreement for Superior Court D2.
Second. We have a motion and a second for Adams Renco. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Next up, we have, this is recycling and waste reduction. Carrie? Good morning, Carrie.
Good morning.
This is a request for approval for a recycling waste reduction district fee collection agreement. So why don't you give us a little update on that? And
Sure, absolutely.
I think is this the first time you've been in front of us here?
The first time.
Welcome.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I thought so. Welcome.
Thank you. Yep, this is actually a 2-year agreement, and what it is on the property tax bill that the treasurer's office sends out, the recycling district user fee of $20 is placed. So this is just a mechanism to allow for us to collaborate with the treasurer and auditor's office. So it's just an agreement stating that we utilize this mechanism so that Porter County residents are billed and our fees are received.
And it's not a change in the fee.
No change, correct.
Yeah.
Carrie, did Attorney McClure get a copy of that?
Attorney for the district and myself originally wrote it 2 years ago, and this is an update for it. since then.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The county gets paid not to exceed $26,000 to do their billing. As you guys are a separate
Form of government,
municipality.
Correct, political
So-
subdivision.
Right, a separate a separate entity, so therefore we have this agreement, which is allowed under the state code, and it allows for them to reimburse us for the cost, and
Correct.
doesn't have 2 sets of billings going out.
Good.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval for waste and recycling district fee collection agreement. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. All in.
Great,
Good to
thank
go.
you. And I-
We like collaboration between the departments.
Absolutely, which I'm very thrilled to hear that the Porter County Commissioners agreed with the resolution for the IU cohort. So we're very excited for this greenhouse gas
Yep.
baseline. So thank you as well.
Thank you. Scott McDonald. How you doing?
I'm well. Yourself?
Good.
Good.
What do you got for us, Scott?
All right. So we are in the midst of changing ticketing vendors again. I believe this time last year we went through the same thing, and the company Vendini has been purchased and is in the process of being dissolved. And we were told earlier in the year, don't worry about the acquisition, everything's going to kind of be all systems normal. In July, when they made the determination to dissolve Vendini, that was not the case. All users of Vendini are being moved over without really getting to see what the product is that we're moving to. And also, we have to pay for it. So that didn't sit really well with me, so we started looking at some other options, interviewed some other theaters across the country. Locally, Chicago Street Theater is also in the same boat. So we have made the decision to move to a company called Arts People. They're based out of Portland. And just all of the things that they offer as far as no yearly contract, elimination of a separate payment gateway, all of that just seemed like a sensible move for us. And it seems like when staff does come back, this will kind of be a one-to-one move as far as what product they're using, so it won't be a huge loop for our box office staff when there's a new product in front of them.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for an agreement for ticketing services for a one-time fee setup of $500. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you very much.
Hang in there. We'll let you know when the brick guy comes
That
out.
sounds great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I think a lot of people will be interested in finding out what's going on
Yes,
there.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ray Cloyd, Buildings Facilities.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning. We have a request for a transfer of funds. We'll get Fund 1112 in the amount of $93,4268 from account 2350 Building Maintenance to account 4540 Other Equipment. And this is to purchase washer and dryer for the jail. So it finally,
Correct.
they finally went out.
Yep. Yeah, we have 3 sets there.
Yeah.
This is number 3 of both.
Yeah.
And they're both down, decommissioned, and we're going to replace them.
Yeah.
Motion to approve the transfer as well as the proposal to purchase new.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I think we can do them together, yep. We have a motion and a second for items 1 and 2 on the agenda under facilities. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ray. Development and Stormwater Management, Bob Thompson. Morning, Bob. Morning, Mike.
Good morning.
Okay, we got first up, a maintenance letter of credit with Redfish Development LLC for Phase 1 of the preserves in the amount of $48,000.
Correct. This is starting the process of the county taking over the maintenance of the Phase 1 of Redfish. The maintenance agreement is for 3 years. The maintenance letter of credit is also good for 3 years on that. We will snowplow the Phase 1. However, if any infrastructure problems come up during this 3-year period, then we will be requesting the developer to fix this, or we have the letter of credit to use.
Any questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for a maintenance letter of credit with Redfish Development for Phase 1 of the preserves in the amount of $48,000. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. And then what's next for Redfish here?
This is the performance letter of credit. This is for Phase 2. They are requesting to get a secondary plat recorded for Phase 2 so they can start housing construction. We have a performance letter of credit of $180,000 in that range, and it's for the infrastructure that remains within Phase 2 to be completed. On that, this is good for a 2-year period, the letter of credit. The letter of credit can be extended for an additional 2-year period by the county engineer, Mike Novotny here, in 6-month increments. And the performance letter of credit also states that if this is the case, then we can also ask for a revised construction estimate based on the dollars for that day.
So basically what we're doing here is for a new phase coming in, we're requiring the developer to post a performance letter. And the first one was for a maintenance bond. And what that basically does is if the developer does not follow through with their items, then the county has the ability to go in and take that position and make it right. So we do this on every subdivision. We've done it for years. This is standard operating procedure, and what that does is it protects us to make sure that the development is done right and correctly. So that's what this performance letter is for. So just a little history lesson here, so just trying to explain what we're doing. So with that, I'll put the performance letter to the board for action.
Motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second for performance letter of credit with Redfish Development on Phase 2 of the preserves. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Next up, we have DLZ, and what do we got here? This is for County Road 100 South.
This is for County Road 100 South. This supplemental agreement is basically shifting dollars into different line items. So, I mean, it's a $0 increase or decrease or anything. It's just, we have the funding, we're just moving it into different phases, whether it's environmental or the utility relocations or helping us to mark trees and that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for DLZ. This is a supplemental agreement for preliminary engineering services. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion carries. Next up, 39 Degrees North LLC. What do we got here?
Okay, 39 Degrees North was originally contracted at the beginning of this year to do our electronic permitting system. They have since been reorganized. They're only doing federal projects, so the geospatial, Schneider Geospatial is going to be doing this. So we're terminating the contract and requesting a refund from 39 Degrees North of the $40,000 we submitted to them for completion of this. This $40,000 then will go towards paying the invoices of Schneider Geospatial to complete the project.
We need to approve Snyder.
No, we
did that.
did that last.
I remember we did
Yeah, we
that.
did that last meeting.
Yep.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for a termination consulting services agreement with 39 Degrees North LLC. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion carries. Next up, some good news here.
The Calumet Trail.
Yes.
Very good news.
Yes, been working on this project, rather hard here as of late. So what we're going to do in this particular one is, we actually had Phase 1 and Phase 2 designed, and it was ready to go to bid, but this is the one where NIPSCO came out and said that they're putting in a gas line along the trail, so I didn't want to build a construction road for NIPSCO, so I put the project on hold. We want to go back now and complete this particular section. It goes from Mineral Springs Road up to the Dune Park train station. So SEH was the original contractor on that. We need to go back in and do some more engineering work on this, and it's mainly because of the pipeline work that NIPSCO did. We need to go in and actually locate that pipeline, the depths on it, to make sure that we're not putting the trail over the top of it. And also doing some elevations on that, basically doing a new topography in this particular area just to make sure that we are away from that particular pipeline. With that, we are going to have to do some environmental work. Now, the good news on the environmental work is they've been working on this, and the Army Corps of Engineers has agreed that they will accept the NICD wetland delineation that was done for the double track project. And so therefore, it has significantly cut our costs with the environmental work.
Yep.
So the environmental part is a not-to-exceed amount that you see within this agreement, and we're pretty sure that with the acceptance of the wetland mitigation, we're going to be knocking off $40,000 to $45,000 on that. So, but the engineering part is pretty firm of what it needs to be done and the costs in there.
You guys have been really busy over the last 24 months, attempting to move this forward.
Especially the last month.
Yes, especially the last month.
Yeah, well, I think also that, the engineering that we had in place to get the grant on this Phase 2 is now, to a certain extent, not up to date because of the double tracking with NICD.
Correct.
And the double tracking, now the double track goes where the trail was supposed to go.
Correct.
The good part of that is originally, if the county would have moved on before NICD had moved on the double tracking, we would have borne the cost of the relocation of the double track and everything else. Now the way it sits, NICD is going to be picking up that engineering portion of the redesign for the double tracking to make sure that we can get that trail around and around that area. That was a pinch point that was created, and the last time that all this funding and everything was put forward on the Calumet Trail, there was no talk of double tracking at that time. So as things have moved along, that has now come into a conflict, and we've got that worked out. And this is going to be the first step, Phases 1 and 2 of the county moving forward on an entire plan for the Calumet Trail, getting it from the Dune Lake Station all the way to the county line to meet up with the trail that Michigan City and LaPorte have come out that way to receive. We are also have been in meetings with the National Park Service. We've been in meetings with NICTE. We've been in meetings with the RDA, Regional Development Authority, Beverly Shores, and we're working, and we hope here within the next 30 days that we have a conceptual trail that we can show people what we're trying to move towards. It is a departure from where we were before, and I think a lot of the timing, because we now have a national park, a real, true national park. They have new funds, they have other things, and everybody now is with the double tracking. There seems to be a lot of synergy to move this forward with the national park being able to be a true national park. They have ideas, and so between this working group that we're putting together, we're going to come up with a trail that I think is going to be able to move in and out of the parks. We're going to use existing trails and roads and other things to enhance the trail, and we think we've come up with something that everybody seems to be moving in the right direction on. We still have some other stakeholders to sit down and talk to, NIPSCO one and some other things, but I think we're hearing a lot of positive comments here about this, and I think with the collaboration with the national park and using some of these existing trails and roads and other things, we also think we'll be able to bring the cost of the trail and everything down a little bit as well, too. So, and compress the time frame so we can maybe move on it, not where it gets into a 5-7 year federal program, that maybe we can push it and compress it and get it done a little quicker. So, because in, I think, at end of 2022, beginning of 23, that's when the double tracking should be completed. So we're trying to match up with time frames and everything else too. So stay tuned on this. There's going to be much more to come, and it doesn't seem at this point that we're pushing. Before, it always seemed like we were pushing a heavy object to try and. We had a lot of impediments that were put in front of us, and I think what we're seeing now is we're starting to get all the stakeholders involved, and we're really coming up with a good collaboration of what this thing could really be. And I know the National Park folks are very excited about it as well, too. So stay tuned, more to come. It's
some
interesting.
of the changes, as we've had to move things around, I think they're better. I mean, it's going to be a much better trail.
Yep.
I agree. It's going to be not only more interesting, but I think it's going to be more environmentally pleasing or acceptable. I wish it was just a case of as some people have I'm sure thought, is us going in there and throwing down some more aggregate and improving it that way. But we've had some huge hurdles to jump over to get this to the point to where it is today. And it is truly going to be a better trail once we're done with it than what we've had there.
So that's what's before us here to get FCH moving, and throw it to the board for action.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and second of FCH Indiana. This is an agreement for the design of Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the Calumet Trail from Mineral Springs Road to the NICTE's Dune Park train station. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Let's get her going.
Excellent.
And then last, we have a change order number 1. Don't like change orders. What's this for? Bridge 84. This is County Road 800 over Dog Lake Ditch.
Correct.
Hey,
I don't like them either. I agree 100%.
Mike and I just sat down recently with the contractor on this, Gary, along with our highway engineering staff, to work out what's before you here on this. Bridge 84, that's 800 south over the branch of a Dog Lake Ditch, or what is referred to as Sigler Road, I believe, in Hebron. There were some items as far as the pile driving, to give you an example on that, the original engineered plans figured it was going to only be about 65 feet. Our very first pile that we drove went 100 feet down. So there were some additional materials on that, and they redid some of the items on that as far as the bearing capacities and on that, so they were able to make some changes on this. But what you're seeing is there were some material overruns from the plans, and there were some also deductions for material underruns on that. We also requested from Gary a workmanship deduction because of some of the items on it. The forms did settle some during the pour, so there was some smoothness issues and everything. We drove it and everything, it was fine, but there are some settling that did happen on the particular concrete. So here again, Mike was able to work with Gary upon that and what we felt was a fair resolution as far as the workmanship on this. This essentially will close this project out on this, but yes, we did have some overruns on it with materials, some underruns and everything on that, too.
Yeah, I would just add, look, that when we run a unit price contract, like this one was, you're dependent upon your design engineer to come up with accurate plan quantities. So I would just point out, a big chunk of this change order is just deviations from plan quantities to final measured quantities that actually went in to build the project that was supposed to be built. I think Bob gave a good summary of some of the just construction challenges we had, again, translating the design to construction, so that required the contractor to do some additional work with changing their pile driving approach, adding some additional, overcoming a utility conflict that existed out there. And then in the end, the workmanship issues, I think we're satisfied with how we're settling them. There's no hydraulic issues with the bridge. There's no structural issues with the bridge. It passed a ride test that was conducted by our highway department, our highway engineering department. So we don't have any issues really with the bridge deck itself. But Gary is admitting that it wasn't quite built per our tolerances and specs. So they're giving us a credit to address our, sort of concerns and heartburn throughout the course of the project on that. So I think this is a good settlement of the contract, and we did have a long, good discussion with the contractor on this project as well that I thought was constructive in terms of looking ahead to future bridge work, because we of course have a whole bunch of future bridge work to do in the county.
Okay. Take action for the board.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for change order number 1, Bridge 84, replacement over County Road 800 South over Dog Lake Ditch. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up, we have a performance agreement between Lawrence Hill and Jacqueline Hill in Porter County regarding Hickory Estates Phase 2. What's this about?
This is Hickory Hills Estates subdivision. It's a performance agreement. It's for the purposes of, again, Hickory Hills would like to record Phase 2 of their secondary plat so they can start home construction on that. There is some construction work that needs to be done, mostly on drainage. The private road is in place for the lots, and they did receive a waiver for the use from the Plan Commission on that. So this is to help them start moving forward. Mike worked with them on that. The agreement is that they are going to have this work done within so many months of this. I believe it's in the agreement here on that. So here again, it is to work with the developer so that way they can start selling lots and building homes for and recording of their secondary plat.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for a performance agreement for Lawrence C. and Jacqueline M. Hill in the Porter County regarding Hickory Hills Estates Phase 2. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And last here, for stormwater, we have an ordinance. We're going to have to do a public hearing again, but this is an ordinance relating to the Department of Development stormwater management fees to include a fee structure for rural broadband. What has been happening out there is because of COVID and people going to the internet more, it's really I think it's highlighted some of the deficiencies our rural areas of the county have with regards to broadband and having internet service out there. And we've been talking with some of the local folks here that do this type of infrastructure work. After looking it over and taking a look at it, we thought that our fee the whole process for getting rural broadband going was a little bit archaic, and so we decided to come in and relook at the ordinance and retool it. Scott, did you want to add anything to this too?
This is a narrow amendment dealing directly with rural broadband. We've gone through the process of defining what that is. We've utilized some of the Fed standards, some of the state standards. We're attempting to, directly impact the areas of the county that are, outside of the urban fringe areas that are struggling to get broadband service to their homes. And so ultimately, we think we've done a good job of trying to zero in on the actual issue that we're trying to solve without getting too many unintended consequences. And ultimately, I think, assuming, and I do assume, because I don't think we've had many problems with them so far, assuming things are put back the way they're supposed to be as far as our road cuts and our things along those lines, then this would ultimately be about an 80% reduction in the permit fee for a fee directly related to rural broadband.
Correct.
This is, I think, super important. Living in a rural area myself with children, school in particular has moved to so much online, even before COVID. Snow days aren't usually snow days anymore. If there's any parents out here, they're e-learning days. And there's just so much homework on a normal day. There's so many requirements that can only be covered with broadband. It's hard to have time to drive to the library every night or Starbucks or whatever to get your kids' homework going when you have other responsibilities at home.
And the permit fee, just for everyone's edification, wasn't just a number that was made up out of an ordinance. It was directly related to the amount of road cuts, the amount of times the bolts were put in. And we ran through, it was brought to our attention, and we ran through some scenarios, and the permit fees were tended to be a little bit higher because you're in the unique scenario of running a fiber line to a small amount of residential homes, which means you're crisscrossing, if you're in a subdivision, the road several times, and so the permit fees could get a little bit high due to that. Again, I think we've done a good job of, protecting ourselves as far as what our infrastructure goes through when these things are done, allowing the broadband providers the opportunity to do this, and as long as things are constructed back the way they're supposed to, then there's a significant decrease in the cost of the permit. Some of these permits could be, you could have a 30-home residential broadband route that's being put in, but because of the road cuts, your permit fee could get to maybe $10,000, $15,000 because of what's happening with the roads and the vaults and things along those lines. So when I say an 80% reduction in the fee, that's significant, but we're trying to encourage as much of this to go in so that these hardline broadbands are going in. And we've used the base model as far as what the feds define broadband is, so it has to be above a certain level and hardwired in, and I think this would accomplish as much as we can do to facilitate this going in as fast as, or at least not being the impediment of why the number doesn't work, or why the return on investment for either the provider or for some of these subdivisions, the homeowners are actually getting together and paying for this to go in. So whether it's at the end of the day, getting more broadband into the rural areas is the goal, and I think this helps. So.
Yep. Any other questions? So what we're going to do here is we're going to do another public meeting here. We're going to suspend the commissioners' meeting. We're going to open it up to a public hearing, which we're in right now, and we're going to again give 3 opportunities to come forward to speak against, 3 opportunities to come forward to speak in favor. We'll shut it down, and then we'll talk about it, and then take a vote. First call, anybody wishing to come forward to speak against this ordinance. If you do come forward, please give your name, your address, from where you're from, and so we have a record of that in our meeting. Second call, anybody wishing to come forward to speak against this ordinance. Third and final call, anybody wishing to come forward to speak against this ordinance. First call, anybody wishing to come forward and speak in favor of this ordinance. Second call, anybody wishing to come forward to speak in favor of this ordinance. Third and final call, anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance. And with that, the public hearing is now closed, and we'll open up the commissioners' meeting and throw it to the floor for any action.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for an ordinance relating to Department of Development stormwater management fees to include a fee structure for rural broadband. This is first reading. All of those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Pose same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Next up, we have Angela Kalin, who's the Development Director. I don't know if, yes, she is here. Good morning. Come on and have a seat. This is a request to use the north side of the courthouse grounds on Friday, November 13th, 2020, from 3 o'clock to 6 p.m. for the Red Kettle Kickoff. The 105.5 radio station van will be doing a live broadcast, and there will be a small canteen-style vehicle serving cocoa and cookies. Sounds
Salvation
good.
Army knows how to do that, yeah.
Give us any other things that we didn't mention there, what you're doing.
Oh, we'll probably have like a 10-foot by 10-foot tent set up with our information. We just want to meet and greet Porter County. I want to try to incorporate businesses also from the downtown area to come in. We may have, I'm still waiting for final confirmation, but 4 or 5-piece Salvation Army brass band. But it's just kind of like it says, it's the kickoff to get the Christmas season started. It's something where we'd like to thank Porter County for their donations throughout the year, but especially at Christmas with our Red Kettles, and to let people know what those donations go toward. And especially to let people know that are in need, especially now. We've definitely seen an increase what our services are and how we can help them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Throw it to the board for action.
Motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second for the Salvation Army of Porter County to use the north side of the courthouse grounds on Friday, November 13th, 2020, from 3 o'clock p.m. to 6 p.m. for the Red Kettle Kickoff. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Pose same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Have a great event.
Thank you. I hope to see you all there.
Yep.
You might.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Lexi Schaefer. Look, there she is. Come on up. Good morning. This is a request also to use the courthouse grounds on October 3rd from 5 to 7 to hold a vigil for the honorary Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So anything else you want to add to this?
Not really. I mean, that pretty much sums it up. We currently have 4 speakers lined up, and I want a moment to honor her. I know there was a nationwide call out to the courthouses, and I know within Porter County, only like 7 people had showed up for it. So the more I thought about it, I wanted something a little bit bigger to really honor who she was and the legacy of her work.
Okay. Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the use of courthouse grounds on October 3rd from 5 to 7 to hold a vigil for the honorary Ruth Bader Ginsburg. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Pose same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Lexi.
Thank you.
And now we've come to the end of our meeting, and anybody wishing to address this board? Yes, please. Right there's a microphone right above you. Just give your name and address. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kathy Sipple, 455 Andover Drive, Valparaiso. And I want to thank you for passing the resolution about the greenhouse gas emissions inventory. I had been in communication with Kathy Merle to get that item on the agenda prior to NERC actually approving the movement to submit an application on behalf of the region, which they did at their executive board meeting on September 17th. At that September 17th meeting, they determined that the next step for interested entities, units of government, which include both county and cities or towns, would be to sign a commitment letter, which is due to them 7 days in advance of the December 3rd deadline to the Indiana Resilience Cohort. So I do have a printed copy of that, and I had also sent a Word editable copy to Kathy Merle, and I'm asking that the Porter County Commissioners would actually become one of the members of the cohort, besides just being in support of the initiative. I'll just say that very briefly, if this type of study was done by a private firm, it would cost anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000. This opportunity to do it in bulk, kind of a Groupon, if you will, for greenhouse gas emissions inventories, we expect to have 6 interns, 2 of which can handle 5 greenhouse gas emissions inventories. So by doing this all as a region, it's really a big savings. There's a software fee of $200 to $300, $300 for populations of 50,000, which would apply in this case. Total cost would be $1,400, so just less than 10% of the low end of a professional. So if I can leave this with somebody, or is it good to you? Okay. I don't know if that can be done today, but it's a really great value. And one of the benefits of doing this is that setting a baseline, we can become eligible for grants that show further how to reduce our carbon emissions. I know that you've already worked with South Shore Clean Cities, I believe, to get a lower emission vehicle fleet for the Sheriff's Department. Things like that we can help you look into and look for further savings for both carbon reduction and money savings as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Greg, sure you guys know me by name. Represent the Zona family, the Zona Sanctuary. Next Monday will mark 21 years ago that my wife and her brother in front of this board donating 92 acres of land to Porter County in honor of their father, Paul Zona. Here we are 21 years later, it's locked to the public, not being maintained. And this has been going on for months and months. It's a little frustrating to us, quite frankly. Where do we sit here? Silence?
I think you've been communicated to many times by many different departments in the county, but your time frame does not fit everybody else's, and we apologize for that. But I would also like to say, I've been up here for 7 years, and you keep talking about your board, and what we did was we were transferring it to the Parks Department, and COVID hit, and we ran into some problems. But for me being up here for 7 years, sir, I've never gotten one list from that board, ever, as to what's been really wrong out there. And you're sitting there going around yelling to everybody who will listen of all these little problems that are out there. We have never gotten anything from this board explaining what the problems were out there.
And I can tell you...
And now all of a sudden, let me finish now, because you've been out preaching to the choir, anybody who will listen, how you're being treated unfairly, and that is not true. We're working through this. It takes, I think if everybody sat through this meeting today, I think you see all the little different nuances and the different little things that we have to do to make anything happen up here. But all you want to do is just throw stones, you want to call people names, that's all you want to do. And I'm not going to sit here anymore and listen to this.
Okay.
So, we'll work through it the best we can. I know the Parks Department has been in constant contact with you, but that's not good enough either. So, I really don't know where we're at this point with this, but I know it's an election year, that's why you're doing this. I think it's very obvious what's going on. but I'm done. I'm done hearing this unless you can sit down with the Parks Department and we can make this happen. We're also in the middle of budgets. There's budget monies that are going to be approved in these budgets for you, but that's not good enough
Parks putting
either.
money in their budget to cover.
I will be at the budget meeting tonight.
Oh, I'm sure you will. But it's all going to carry through here, sir, but you got to be patient and let this work through the process that's been given to us. Nobody's trying to do anything to the Zona Wildlife Sanctuary. I know for me personally, I have no axe to grind. But when you're out there throwing stones and saying the things that you're saying for this board, I just really don't, I don't see it, I don't agree with it, and that's where I'm at.
Okay.
So now you know.
Fair enough. I can tell you why we haven't been up here for the last 7 years telling you what's wrong. Is because we were appointed as the Wildlife Management Advisory Board. We were responsible for the maintenance. We were doing the maintenance. There wasn't anything wrong. Down trees were getting cut, debris was being cleaned, gates were being locked and unlocked every night.
Yeah, and I think the
for
highway
security.
department did go out and fix the gates, what was it, 2 years ago, when we were...
2, 3 years ago.
Yeah, we were
Somebody had-
clamoring
yeah.
about that, but we went
Yeah.
out and did it.
Yes,
But all
we did.
I'm trying to tell you, sir, is we've been going through this thing called COVID, and everybody's, we're working through this.
Okay.
And this all has just happened in the last 9 months. That's where this has come from. This is how this has gotten to this point in the last 9 months.
And a couple of bad storms.
And a couple of bad storms, too. So, we're doing our best up here, Mr. Gregg, but I'm the way that you've come after the Parks Department and our board here leaves my stomach a little bit unnerved a little bit, because I just don't think that that's how you go about solving things. I know we've solved a tremendous amount of problems up here in the last 7 years, and we never got it done by throwing stones and yelling at people. And that's all I'm going to tell you from this perspective.
I don't believe I've ever yelled at anyone.
Well, you're out there creating all kinds of, I don't know what you call it, but you're doing it. So
Okay.
we'll just agree to disagree on that, too.
We had a little attention. This has been going on since the beginning of the year.
Beginning of the
You don't have to tell me about COVID. My wife is an ICU nurse supporter.
Well, I would think you would have a little more understanding then of what we're going through, but
Her stress
obviously you
level was
don't.
very high. My hours
So's mine.
My hours of work were cut in half. I had to move my mother out of an assisted living facility and into my home.
I understand
Where she's in
everybody's
hospital
trials
care.
and tribulations here. All I'm
That's
telling
right.
you, Mr. Gregg, is this is on a track to get done and to give you what you want, and it's obviously not fast enough for you or good enough for you. And I think you're leaving a trail here of things that people are going to look at. What are we really getting into here? Because I don't think you've been very cooperative, and I think that you've been pretty much one-sided.
Well,
And that's my opinion only. I don't speak for these other two commissioners. I'm talking about what I think.
I'm not
I've been sitting back and watching all the emails, and it's just, to me, it's silly.
Yeah, and I will make those emails public to whoever would like.
Sure, everybody want to read them, you can have them.
Yeah.
It's wonderful stuff.
And as far as being uncooperative, we invited the commissioners, the council, out to the sanctuary to go over things, didn't we?
Everybody's been out there. We didn't go out there because it's going to the Parks Department, and the Parks Department have been out there, and they have gone out there, and they have assessed, and they have put dollar amounts to this.
When we had a
It's all
meeting,
been done, Bob. It's all
nobody
been
from the
done.
Parks Department, nobody from the commissioners showed up.
Bob, that's not to say that nobody on the Board of Commissioners has been out there.
I know you have been out there. I've seen you out there walking your dog. You and I have crossed paths out there.
Well, and I have shared my information, what I viewed out there with the other two commissioners.
And the commissioners are well aware of it.
And you told me that in March you had hiked out there and you saw nothing wrong with the sanctuary.
That's
I
pre-COVID.
didn't at that time. Now, I'm not,
Okay.
Bob, I'm not
Okay.
saying that there's not
Things have happened.
something, I don't know if I would coin it wrong, but there's some activity that needs to happen out there
Yep.
too. I agree with that. And I think what Commissioner Good is trying to say is, for months now, the commissioners have been moving forward of getting to that point to where we can go in and do that. You had brought up, mentioned to me, well, we'll get some volunteers out there and we'll cut some trees down. We can't do that, Bob. That's the way things were done before.
Okay.
This board is not going to, is not going to manage that way.
Okay.
We take on an extreme amount of liability by letting, civilians or just general residents in there with chainsaws to start cutting, because somebody gets hurt, then...
No doubt.
But...
We were doing it for years.
Right, and that's why we brought this to the park. That's why we had our attorney create an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with the park. The park was more than gracious, and they understood, yes, we'll take it. But I think what Mr. Good is stating at this point, and he can certainly speak for himself, it has gotten to the point that where all of us on this end of it are scratching our heads and wondering if we want to move forward with retaining it. Because it has to be managed under our ability to manage it, not yours, not the Zona families members, ours. Because we have to be responsible for the monies that we invest out there and how they're invested. We can't just arbitrarily throw, here, Bob, here's $10,000, go and that. Now, that's the way it was typically done in the past. Things aren't managed that way today.
Okay. Can I give you a few minutes?
You know what, I think your time is up, sir.
You think so?
I do. I mean, everybody knows this situation. Is
this open to the public?
It is open to the public, but I can also put a time limit on it, too, if I want to. I have the right as president of the board to do that.
Several meetings.
If you want to speak to me...
Everybody knows where you're coming from.
If you want to speak to me after the meeting, I'd be more than happy to make myself available.
I wanted to give you a little background on Paul Zone and who he was and why he wanted to donate this land to Porter County. I don't think that's being unreasonable, is it?
Our goal is the same as yours. We want this property to be open to the public and accessible and beautiful. It's just taking us some time to get there. We're in the process. We told you at the last meeting that the commissioners were committing $10,000 out of our budget. The council has talked about finding the rest of the money that is required for the upkeep. We're right in the middle of budget time. That can't get done in concrete until budget time is over, until we have third reading.
And we'll see how long this takes. You're not going to let me tell you about my father-in-law, the kind of man he was.
Sure, why not?
Okay, let me tell you a little bit about Paul Zone. Born on October 5th, 1910 in Northwest Indiana. He was a region resident all his life. He found the woman he loved in his late 20s, and they're going to start a family. Unfortunately, before they could get their family started, the country found itself at war. And Paul found himself on the European front, fighting for this country in World War II. Shortly after that, his unit was captured by the Germans, and he was held as a POW for the majority of the war. Toward the end, as Allied forces were closing in, the Germans took their unit, started marching them off somewhere else. Paul, not knowing where they were going to or why, took a gamble. Fell into a ditch, played possum. Germans came back, looked at him, felt he was too much trouble. They continued marching on. When they were well out of sight, he got up out of that ditch. He went to find friendly forces. It took him 2 days. When he found them, he had no ID, he had no dog tags. He had to prove to them that he was an American, which he did. And they immediately hospitalized him. He's down to 80 pounds. He spent the majority of the year in the hospital recovering from that ordeal, fighting for this country. When he returned home, he went to be reunited with his wife and start that family they dreamed of. Only to find out his wife had been told that he was missing in action and most likely dead. So she had remarried and started a family with someone else. So he found a woman, Rose Greger, widow with 3 children of her own, and he married them and took them in as his own. Later on, they started their own family. Paul Jr. was born, and coincidentally on that day, they closed a deal for 640 acres in Porter County, spanning Pine and Jackson townships. He started a family farm. He had 2 other children, Frank and my wife, Mary Ann. He raised his family on that farm, while also working at E.I. DuPont as vice president. It was that family farm that helped him build the values that his family had. Sundays were special to him. Sundays, he took his family to church. Then they walked the woods together, the woods that is now the sanctuary. And that's where they built strong family bonds and strong values that his children carry to this day. That's why this land is important to us. Paul was an active gentleman all the way up till the spring of 1999. He's 88 years old. And he was diagnosed with lymphatic cancer. As he began his decline, he decided he wanted to share those same family days that built his family values. He wanted to share those with other people in Porter County. And one of his dying wishes was to donate this land to Porter County to be used as a park where families could spend those days together. You know, when I get up to start my days, I look down the hall and I see a folded American flag presented to our family on behalf of the President and a grateful nation. I also see these medals. That's his picture. The bottom medal's rifle shows he did the European African tour. The top one, what the top one is? That's a Purple Heart. He earned a Purple Heart for his sacrifice. So when I hear how tough this is, and when I hear how tough I'm being to work with, I think of this. You want to talk about tough? 3.5 years as a German POW. That's tough. That's my father-in-law. That's why we are so passionate about this property. We want to see his wishes fulfilled, so this can be a place for families in Porter County to go. You tell me this is going to happen. It's been 9 months in the works now, and talking with other people around, sounds like this is going to go on well into next year. Every year on October 5th, his birthday, family gets together and walks the sanctuary, and we will share memories of him. This October 5th, we're not going to be able to do that because the county's locked it up.
Who at the county locked it up?
Craig Kenworthy.
Who?
Craig Kenworthy.
The county parks locked it up.
County Parks locked it up.
Okay. Have you asked them to open it?
It's a game. Now it's
Well, he made it clear that he was going to keep it locked up. Did you read your last email?
Yes, sir, I did.
What did it say?
Let you know when they're gonna open it back up. Didn't say it's gonna never open up. Didn't say
He
that.
said it needs to be rezoned, and it will remain, you give me a quizzical look like you didn't read that.
Rezoned?
Yes, he says it's not zoned to the park, and until such time as the county gets rezoned, it will remain locked to the public. That was the last email. That was last Friday.
Okay.
Okay?
But Bob, in all fairness to the Parks Department, didn't you have it locked before that?
I locked it when, remember, we had an invitation for commissioners, council, and 2 members of the council came out there and walked the sanctuary with us. And they felt that in the condition it's in, it was too dangerous for the public to be out there. And they asked me to lock it.
So if you felt, as they did, that it was too dangerous to have the public out there.
And then when I gave the key to the Parks Department, they opened it back up. And when I mentioned this to Craig Kenworthy, he locked it back up with his key. His lock, his key, so we no longer have access to it at all.
Until they get out there and make
it
safe.
rezone it.
They make it safe.
Okay.
Well, the zoning is incorrect. And for them to receive certain state and federal funds, grants to help maintain that, it has to be zoned correctly.
Yeah, this was in the control of the Parks Department 20 years ago.
What's that?
This was in control of the Parks Department 20 years ago.
What was in control of
the zone of sanctuary when Ed Melendez was in charge of the Parks Department.
And he was managing that property?
Yes, he was.
So you're saying it went from the commissioners to the parks to the commissioners to the parks?
Do you know why they took it from Ed Melendez?
I have no idea.
No idea.
He wasn't maintaining it. Shock of shocks.
Well, I've been out there.
I know you have. I've seen you.
I've been out there. I don't know. I've lost count a number of times. I think it is being maintained. for the most part. I think we had a couple of storms that went out there and a couple of trees that needed to be replaced.
And we have a bridge out
And
there
I think
being
a bridge
washed away.
that was placed out there wasn't probably placed out there properly, and it needs to be set in there properly. But as far as, the parking lot's clean, nothing's broken.
We used to trim the grass on each side of the parking lot. That hasn't been done this year.
Well, it's going to get done with the parks.
Okay.
I don't know of a
guess-
piece of property the Parks Department owns and manages that's in ill.
I guess our frustration as a family is that this has been going on for 9 months, and it looks to me like it's going to go on
Well,
long
Bob,
next year.
as Commissioner Good pointed out, I mean, come on, you have to, we've been, for 9 months, we have been in the middle of managing a pandemic.
Yeah.
We've had two large storms that come through here that compounded the problem out there. We've got probably $50 million worth of construction projects under shovel currently. The Zona property is important to us, but it is not our largest priority at this point. Please understand that.
I think that's obvious to all of us.
Well, yes,
Well, I think
it should be
I
obvious.
also think that if you're calling it a park, so if it's a park, the Parks Department is better handled to handle trails and parks and other things. And that was why the movement towards giving it to the Parks Department, because they do programming, they do trail maintenance. We don't do that. We do roads, we do bridges, we do other things. We're not out doing little trails. That's what the Parks Department does. So we were just thinking we were putting the right situation in the right box. And now it's turned into this ordeal.
I don't disagree with that.
Well, then help us get there. We're trying to get there
It just
for
seems
you.
to me that it's...
And the Parks Department is their own separate body, and they have their own board.
And sitting in my chair as a North County Commissioner, it is woefully unfair of you to stand up here and assume or suggest that this isn't important to us. If you remember, who was it that brought it to the Board of Commissioners to accept in the 1990s, Bob? Who was it?
My wife and her brother.
Who brought it to the Board of Commissioners?
I guess...
You're looking at them.
Okay.
All right. You brought it to me, and I brought it to the Board of Commissioners. And I've had dozens of conversations with the other two commissioners over the last 3 years that I've sat here, and all of them talk fondly of the property. It has only been in this last several months that it's almost like an albatross at this point, which we don't understand. The county and the county taxpayers have thrown a lot of money at that property over the last 20 years. And it is woefully unfair of you to suggest that we don't care, we have neglected it, or denying its day. It's terribly unfair.
As you and I have said in a phone conversation, I have one test. Is it being maintained or isn't it?
It was being maintained, Bob. It was being maintained, Bob, and the pandemic hit, the storms hit.
By the Wildlife Management Advisory Board, which you disbanded.
Which we appointed.
You disbanded this year.
Because we were trying to get you to the park.
I sat at that table with you,
Okay, yes,
with
you
Mary Ann, and two or three other members of the board. You asked me to disband the board.
No.
Bob.
Let me get this straight. I will bring other witnesses here. You asked the Zona family. You asked the Zona family to write a letter saying that we okayed the transfer to the Parks Department, and we did that. Even though I don't see why, it's owned by you guys. You then asked us to write a letter saying we gave permission to disband the board. We did not do that.
You and other members of that board.
You interrupted me now.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I apologize.
We did not do that because clearly, the Wildlife Management Advisory Board in the ordinance says we served at the pleasure of the commissioners, not the pleasure of the Zona family. It's not up to the Zona family to disband it. It's up to the commissioners. That was going to be on you, not us.
Well, absolutely, it was up to the commissioners to disband it.
That's right, but I was just
It was the
told...
commissioners who created it, not the Zona family.
I was just told that the Zona family gave permission, asked for it to be disbanded. That's what I was just told.
No, what you were just told is that some of the members that were sitting on the advisory board that I met, sitting at that table over there, said, we see no reason that we need to exist at this point if the Parks Department is taking over the property.
What month is that?
I don't know, Bob, it was probably right after the first of the year.
Well, at that point, the board had already been...
It was before COVID, I know that.
It was like late February.
Somewhere in there, yes.
Yeah, the board was supposed to have been appointed in January, so it was already not been appointed again, so.
Well, I think the Board of Commissioners have more than explained itself why we haven't gone out there and dumped a bunch of money, dropped everything we were doing. It obviously does not, settle well with you, but, Bob, it's just, it is the way it is. We value the property, we have every intentions in the world to maintain the property as it should be. It may not be according to your timeline, but we're not going to apologize for that. Not under these conditions.
And I have been told that I should apologize to this group for the emails I've been sending, and that isn't going to happen either. See this?
I haven't asked you to apologize for the emails.
Trust me, it got back to me. Not from you. I will give you credit for that. See this?
Bob, what would you like?
This is why I honor.
What do you want?
What we always expected was for this transition to be transparent. We're past that.
How is it not transparent?
It's not being maintained, it's locked.
How's that not transparent?
How is that has anything to do with transparency?
We all have the same goals.
This should have been
and
smooth.
we're going to get there.
January 1st, the Parks Department should have been taken over, should have maintained it, and that obviously has not happened, because here we are, almost 10 months later, talking
You
about it.
show up at the Parks Board meetings?
I have.
Yeah, you have, okay. You should have let them know you were coming here, and then they could have been here, and then we could have had a real good session here, where it could have all gotten figured out, but...
Well, and yeah...
But we're all waiting for budgets, I know I got budget meetings tonight, I got budget meetings Thursday I gotta go to, so stay tuned.
I'm wondering why there hasn't been a phone call trying to get the interested parties all together in one room at one time and have...
When you send out your emails and you copy the world, why would anybody want to do that? You've driven everybody away from this, Bob, and that's your doing, not ours. Everybody right now is standing back going, what's this guy want?
Commissioner,
Nobody knows.
you're absolutely correct in saying that.
Okay,
You've driven people away from you.
okay. I will let others be the judge of that.
Well, we're going to manage that property.
Okay. I'm counting on it.
We will.
We're counting on it.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else?
Commissioner,
With that?
I just have one thing before we, real quickly. I talked briefly to the county attorney. I'd like to have him look into the possibility of creating an ordinance for the use of golf carts in the unincorporated area.
We've been talking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have gotten a list from people in South County wanting to allow golf carts and other things on county roads, and we're looking into it, but I've also, I also caution those people to let them know that usually people in South County don't like the government get involved in their world. Now they're asking us to get involved in their world. So be careful what you wish for, because there are going to be licenses, there's going to be insurance issues we have to deal with now. There's all kinds of things. So we're going to look into it. We're going to put something together and vet it out, because I think there is a need for that, but we're going to have to go about it the right way that protects everybody when these things are on the road. So we're going to be looking into that, and more to come. So thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
With that, this board stands in recess. Thank you.